Josh and Jason Diamond, shooters extraordinaire. Anybody who spends a lot of time on Twitter or the blogosphere will know these guys. If not, well, you're probably not watching this anyway, so that's that's okay.
Probably out having a sandwich.
And apart from being all-round regular good guys, they've got a lot of experience with shooting with the Blackmagic cinema camera.
That is true.
So this is a chance for us to talk to you about what it's actually like to use them in a real production. What's it like?
It's terrific. Makes a really nice picture. Once you're throwing it on sticks, it's you're like any other camera. You're going to build it out. You're going to use sec monitor. You're going to use battery plate. You're going to what have you. It functions perfectly in a production environment. We've traveled with it. We've shot in the studio with it. Run and gun, green screen. We've not been disappointed yet.
And we haven't had to shoot raw.
Yeah, all
ProRes is more than enough.
It's interesting. I mean, obviously this is the news shooter live chat, and a lot of the people watching hopefully will be news and documentary makers, and they've probably been put off the Blackmagic up till now because they're hearing raw and it's like unwieldy, and
right.
And actually what you're saying is this camera works. You're shooting ProRes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're adapting it to shoot in a run and gun style. Without too many problems.
Yeah.
How are you doing that?
On a 512 gig, $380 SSD, you get 6 hours of ProRes. I mean, for documentary or news shooting alone, that's unheard of on one card.
And it's a low power draw, so if you put a big fat 160 on a battery plate, you're good all day.
Yeah, what do you use? You don't use a power pack, or do you use?
No, we've been using V-mount.
Okay.
Yeah, the Swittronics, their little PB70 guy is really sweet.
So how exactly? Walk us through what your setup is for running gun. You've got a setup there, which it looks like it might work, but I mean you've got other stuff as well.
This is we have a couple different cages. This is the Genesis one. We have the wooden camera one. We have the
View Factor
one. They all have a slightly different approach, and depending on what we're doing, we'll pick the cage for the job. The camera does have a kind of an odd form factor, but
the oversized iPhone.
Yeah. Ideally, actually, you want it to be this way, because you would want the larger part of the wedge to be on top, but that's not what they did. So, once you put on a cage or on sticks or on a handheld rig, that form factor sort of goes away. Nobody's doing this with it. It's not a 5D.
But are you finding you're using the monitor on there a lot, or are you mainly using external monitors?
Well, we use the external monitor because if you're in like a TV Logic or Small HD, if you're doing handheld, you can't see it. If you're on sticks, you can use it, but the camera itself doesn't have audio meters. But it comes through the HD SDI. So if you have a TV Logic or something that has a meter, you can meter it. Plus, we like to what color space you set to your SSD is what comes out of the SDI. So if you want to shoot log, you monitor log. So if you want to see a Rec 709 image at the same time, then you can set this screen to be 709, and you can set your little guy or any other off-board monitor to be log, and then you can quickly check between the two, and you can do LUTs and whatever you want for your set. That's up to you. That's outside.
And are you
the
finding
camera.
you're shooting mostly log, or are you shooting mostly?
Only log.
Always log. Yeah.
And how are you finding it working with those files, the ProRes log files?
ProRes log is beautiful. I mean, it looks like an Alexa, honestly.
You just throw them into Resolve and put their 3D LUT on it, and it's perfect place to start. And now that Avid actually announced LUT support in Media Composer, then now you don't even have to go to Resolve. You can just put your files, your ProRes right in the Media Composer, 3D LUT, done.
There's a guy, Nick Shaw, out of Antler Post in England, who wrote a plugin for Final Cut that lets you put LUTs on in Final Cut. So, I mean, once you put the LUT on, it's really then just coloring under it what you want. But it's got really good saturation and contrast, and it's sharp.
So you guys have been using these for quite a while now. So
it's like August, yeah.
So what are the things you love about the camera, and what are the things that you hate? Well, I won't say hate about the camera, but maybe would like to be improved.
I mean, audio meters is a big one. Some sort of histogram would be nice. Some sort of file browsing structure for like when you shoot, you want to be able to go back and play back. You can play back, but you're just sort of kicking through the line of what you have. It would be nice to have little bubbly browser to be like, it's touchscreen. I want to see swipe that one, play it back. So it's it's usability stuff. It does not hamper the use of the camera. It's just things that you learn to live without, just like any camera. And I think the pluses are just really nice dynamic range, a nice sharp sensor. I mean, you could say that the Micro Four Thirds-ish sensor is a negative for people who don't want to deal with the crop factor. Now that they have the Super 35 4K camera for $1,000 more, I think that problem's solved.
Yeah.
So are you guys excited about the 4K camera, or are you more excited about, say, using that camera because it's got global shutter in HD?
I mean, we also own 2 Epics, so we sort of ride the line between what we like to use per project, and I think that camera being 4K is really nice to be able to shoot an actual 4K B cam or third camera or fourth camera or whatever it is on a production and have it match resolution and shoot ProRes. I don't know what it's shooting actually. Did they say what it shoots?
I think it shoots ProRes now. I don't know. I haven't heard anything about DMX.
So 4K ProRes log. I'm in.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Global shutter's
Actually,
nice.
Okay, one more question. We'll get another question, which I'll ask you now because you're here. But in an hour or so, we're going to have a discussion about, is DSLR dead? Is DSLR dead to you guys?
I mean, we skipped that by coming in early on the Red One. We sort of, for whatever reason, skipped the DSLR thing. So I do think that the 5D and that sort of full frame mentality that people have been now junkies of, there's still a place for it, but now that there's so many more options, that I think you have to really now think about, are you shooting stills and motion? Are you just shooting stills, or are you shooting motion, right? Because if you're gonna shoot just motion, this or a similar company's camera would be a better purchase than a 5D. But if you want to shoot a combination, then yes, of course, you're not using this for stills. So I think it's a case-by-case thing, but I think there's definitely cause for anyone who's just a DSLR person to maybe look outside their box.
I mean, why else would Canon start moving into C100, C300, C500? They got they wet everybody's whistle with the DSLRs, and now they're saying, for a couple grand more, we can, usher you onto the next and the next and the next and the next, try and keep you in the family.
Just a question for you guys, considering that you use Epics and everything else. Now with Blackmagic's announcement today, 4K for 4K, have they sort of have they changed the future of where camera technology is going? Are we going to see this?
Well, I mean, if you want to compare them together, you're talking about a company like Blackmagic that's a volume dealer that has retailers and resellers that handle basically everything, and someone says, I want 1,000 cameras, here you go, and then they've been paid for them and it's done. Where Red is, unfortunately or fortunately,
you can only buy
with
from
every
them.
minute point of that process, and including R&D, and they have one product line, whereas Blackmagic makes money from the giant booth they have that has products in it that only this is one small part of. So it's kind of hard to compare.
And that whole camera is essentially commodity parts of their existing product line.
Yep.
With a sensor. So it's slightly different.
But so you don't think you'll be throwing out your Epic for 4K Blackmagic?
No, I'm going to go put Dragon in my 2 Epics and have a 6K 16 stop.
Were you guys fortunate enough to be upgraded here at the show?
No. I don't know who. Nobody I know was.
Words will be had, but
really?
But I don't know if I had.
If you're watching, I'm suspecting he's not watching. But if Mr. Jallard is watching, you would like him to put Dragon sensor?
We've spoken about it. He's a very gracious man.
I don't know if I have the 16 grand in my pocket right now to get those two cameras upgraded, but it's. There's a value to a 6K image with a 16 stops. So they say, we haven't seen the imagery, but even if it's 15 or whatever, 6K at that resolution, now that everyone else has caught up to them for 4K, they still have that reframe.
But I guess it depends what you're doing, because if you're doing run and gun dock, frankly, most of your competition is still probably shooting on an EX1.
Right.
So you're getting, even by shooting Micro Four Thirds. You're getting a different look.
Yeah.
You're getting a workable camera that can shoot for hours.
Absolutely.
And is cheaper probably than an EX1. Well, maybe about the same. Maybe.
Yeah.
So I don't.
But I wouldn't put them on this. They would never be up for the same job.
And whilst you could shoot documentary with an Epic, I know certain people do, and at the very high end.
Yeah.
For most doc shooters, most people, trying to get into Sundance or whatever.
Yeah, right.
There probably isn't the need. If I'm completely honest.
No, I don't.
Of course not. Every tool has its place. There's no reason, which is why since we're not in the DSLR marketplace, having this camera in our stable along with Epics allows us the freedom to choose. I'm not going to put my Epic on X job because of this reason. This is perfect for that. And now we have the option to pick and choose what we're going to use.
Have you shot them side by side on the job at all?
We have not done that yet.
I think if you just knowing the footage, using the Alexa comparison, everyone says, inherently Alexa has a nicer skin tone than Red, and that's always been Red's sort of sticking point that people like to jab them at. And this falls more on the Alexa side. So if you were to compare them outside of the obvious differences, I would say probably the biggest difference is just a nicer image out of the box, and especially with skin tones.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, if you can't do it with any of these cameras, you can't do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Oh, there's no excuse for not doing it.
I'm not a huge user of Red cameras. I wouldn't say I'm a fan. I'm not anti-Red cameras.
Right.
But I watched. I'm sure, like you all did, House of Cards recently, shot on Red. It looked amazing. It looked really very good. And it didn't matter that it was shot on Red. It didn't detract. The story was great.
Right.
It's perfectly acted and shot. Scripted.
Right.
And it didn't matter that it was shot on the Red or an Alexa or indeed a Blackmagic.
But in their case,
Searching for Sugar Man was shot on an EX1.
Right. And an iPhone.
Yeah. But in the House of Cards scenario, the Red made a difference because they're reframing every shot.
Yeah.
So they're stabilizing and reframing and changing dolly moves and Steadicam moves, and that's you choosing that is what gives you that opportunity.
And they're shot in very low light as well.
Yeah.
He loves
Absolutely.
that. He loves that practical
green and black,
low light.
But for somebody who doesn't totally dig the Red look, it didn't bother me at all.
For sure.
I was totally sold on the whole thing.
Well, I mean, you look at Prometheus or The Hobbit or Spider-Man. I mean, those were quality, rather outside of plot or any issue somebody might have with the film. They looked.
Thought on some of those was a little bit suspect.
Yes, but looking at the imagery, clean, sharp images in a wide variety of conditions. So, I mean, it's clearly a proven product.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about what you got in your hand there. What's special about this for those who haven't noticed already?
So, this is the Micro Four Thirds, the elusive Micro Four Thirds version of the Blackmagic.
Elusive.
We just happen to throw a lens on here that actually doesn't work on this camera, but just because it's the MFT version is a passive mount. They decided not to put an electronic MFT mount in it, unlike they did to the little pocket guy they showed today. But for us, we have manual glass. We have a set of Leica R's, like we've talked about, and
we're all big fans of Leica glass here, right?
So for us, the EF mount, we also have an EF mount Blackmagic, and that's great too. But I feel like this gives you more options if you're a manual glass person, because Micro Four Thirds has been adapted to hell for the last however many years, and if you can't find an adapter for Micro Four Thirds to any other lens, there's a problem. So it just gives you more options, I feel like, for the shooting. But other than that, the cameras are exactly the same. There's no difference, other than they just chop the mount.
Yeah, it's a slightly nicer sort of form factor to put in the bag, or
you don't have that big turret.
Can we get that off for a minute and just show people inside?
What'd you say?
Can we just take the lens off?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so there you go. It's really small.
Yeah.
Really, really small.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
super thin.
But it's a really good mount. It's solid. It does not, when you put a lens on it, it feels like it's on there.
I think it's
not,
steel.
no wiggle.
Actually, on a slight aside, that's a Genesis rig
Yeah.
you got there, right?
Yeah.
When I first saw that, I was slightly concerned that the ring would block the micro four thirds, but it doesn't appear to.
No, it's the same rig that Mike Sutton designed for the TS3 Cine. I think it's except for the ring. I think it's sort of a modded version of that. I do like this handle.
The handle looks nice.
Yeah, it's like brass knuckles. You know, like you hold it and it should go around. So in case you're shooting a documentary and someone comes up on you, just punch
hit him with your camera.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, I mean, any other observations? Anything else you want to share with us about these cameras?
I mean, you can go to our website, thediamondbros.com, and see a variety of stuff we've shot on both this and Epix and other cameras. And then the blog section has specifically called out like 3 or 4 Blackmagic pieces.
What tips? You guys got any tips for people who've just bought their Blackmagic camera as to something that's good, something that's bad, or something to avoid? Or
the big tip, the big thing that we've come across is the camera. We're assuming it's when it heats up seems to be the main cause of dropped frames. But the funny thing about it is that the picture never drops frames. The audio slips by about 5 frames when it happens.
Okay, and that's after you've had it running for a certain amount of time? Or?
No, well, sometimes, it'll take some time for it to start happening, and then it might happen a lot. But one thing that we've also thought might cause it is when you're taking your SSD out and you're putting it in your dock to dump footage to your laptop or your drives, that the SSD is getting indexed, and that you're taking the SSD out relatively quickly, so it's not really getting, it might be corrupt header information or whatnot. So when you put it back in, that might be a cause. So one thing that's helped is to reformat in Disk Utility the SSD every time you dump your footage. So, shoot for an hour, dump, reformat, put it back in.
Something else to note, back on your other question about maybe something that is missing or desired, and a lot of people have asked for it, is being able to format in the camera. You have to have a computer to format, and so if you're on site doing a documentary or something where you're running and gunning, you don't want to have a laptop with you.
Exactly.
You want to be able to, let's say you have 10 cards and you're not going to dump them, you're going to shoot it and throw it in your bag, shoot it and throw it in your bag. If you forgot to format one of those, you can't delete anything, you can't do anything to the SSD in the camera.
Have you had any problems with the not showing the remaining time that's left on your SSD?
Yeah, it doesn't show that either.
Yeah, is that sort of something that you'd like to see fixed as well?
Yeah, I mean that's a given. You would want a global counter, and then when you hit playback, just see your.
Or at least an aggregate.
How are you working
of
with that at the moment when you're shooting your documentary stuff? How do you?
We haven't done a ton of longer doc style stuff, but we kind of just need to keep a general mental tally of a ballpark of what you've been shooting and leave yourself, percentage headroom over your math.
Yeah, but again, you're getting a 6 hours.
It's 6 hours of ProRes.
512 gig drive, so you're pretty.
So if you mean that's not quite enough.
Well.
No, joking aside, a big disc would solve most of those issues.
Yeah. You get a couple
shoot
of
on
those
64s or 128s.
No, I mean it's $350-ish for any of their supported or suggested SSDs at 512.
Okay. While we still have you here, is there anything exciting that you've seen on the floor that's grabbed your attention?
The FreeFly guys, Vince's thing.
Yeah, we had them on earlier.
Yeah, those guys are awesome. We haven't so far been able to do a huge amount of walking the floor because we were doing a bunch of stuff this morning with Blackmagic and then some other things, and then
how about what
now
Red's got going on with the ND filter, with the ND?
It's really interesting, and we're trying to get over there to. I'm not sure if they have it on a camera working.
The motion mount or whatever they're calling it.
Red motion.
Yeah, I mean we're speculating that they bought the Tessive time filter from that guy.
Yeah, I have no idea. I can't even begin to understand how that works. That whole.
Well, because that guy's mount is, or his thing.
As of Saturday,
is no longer for sale, and then they announce it on Sunday.
So it's possible that
maybe they bought him.
And it's ND in 1/100th of a. Stop.
Because you're
up to 9 full.
If I understand it correctly, you're turning your actual sensor shutter angle to 360 degrees and leaving it wide open, and that there's an electric current in the mount or in that what that filter used to be that becomes your new filter, and it's basically a giant pixel turning on and off it's becoming a global shutter because it's not wiping, it's on and off. So it's sort of a mixture between because the CCD or the CMOS is still read resetting, but it's getting an image in a flash. I don't pretend to know the intimate details of how it works, but it seems that's how it works. Any
little clues as to how the global shutter on the Blackmagic is going to work on the 4K?
No, not yet.
No, but I mean, I know that this sensor that's in here is spec'd for global shutter. They just didn't implement it. And with global shutter, I think you lose a stop because of the way that the global shutter.
Yeah, but the sensitivities on these things are.
Yeah, I mean, I'll gladly take a stop loss for global shutter. So.
Yeah, it's all good.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
It's been educational to me, at least. Matt, I'm sure, knows it all already, but that's okay. That's his job.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
and if anybody wants to look at your stuff, they go to which website?
thediamondbros.com or Brothers. They both point.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm on Twitter. I'm just my name, Jason Diamond, and he's Josh_Diamond.
Yeah, somebody grabbed my name before I could get to it.
No, there's two of you?
Well, I'm sure there's another guy named Josh Diamond out there somewhere.
Okay,
He
great.
took my name.
Okay, thank you very much for coming.
Thanks, Dan.
And that's it. We'll be back again in, I think, about an hour to talk about the demise of DSLR or otherwise. So, is DSLR dead? Come and talk to us about, or listen to us talk about that with Jason Wingrove from the RC podcast and DP Paul Schneider. Thank you very much.
Oh, nice.